எல்லாரும் நல்லா இருக்கீங்களா? சொல்லுங்க, நல்லா இருக்கீங்களா? ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ், நான் தமிழ் கத்துட்டு இருக்கேன். எதுக்கு தெரியுமா? என் சகோதரர் அண்ணாமலை அவருக்கு இங்க தமிழ்நாட்டுல அரசு அமைக்கு நான் உதவி செய்யணும். அதுக்காக தமிழ கத்துட்டு இருக்கேன். Friends, we all are children of the same mother, Kaveri. And today, the BJP thinker cell, under the leadership of my very dear brother, the resurgent hope of Tamil Nadu, Shri Annamalai ji, has given me this opportunity to come before all of you and speak about a very interesting subject. The common cultural linkages between Ganga and Kaveri. I come from the land which is the Ugamasthala of Kaveri. And naturally, as a Bharatiya, we have imbibed in us the spirit of all holiness which pervades this great land. If one were to understand the very essence of Bharat as a nation, one will very clearly understand that Bharat is a nation not because of political jurisdictions, but primarily because of the cultural space and the cultural unity that has kept this country as one. In her seminal book, India, A Sacred Geography, Diana Eck makes this very interesting and poignant point. She writes, and I quote, "India is united by its sacred core, not by the power of kings and governments, but by the footsteps of the pilgrims. India is a sacred geography." This line, that India is united by the footsteps of the pilgrim, is something that has kept this country as a culturally thriving entity, a naturally alive entity from the past millennia. The concept of Tirthayatras, our festivals, our gods, our itihasas, our epics, our stories, our holy rivers, our temples, our music, our culture, our dances. This is what has kept India as one, Bharat as one. Despite kings coming and going, invasions that lasted for centuries, despite earthquakes, floods, pandemics, despite droughts and famines which were deliberately engineered, governments came and went, kings came and went, elections came and went, chief ministers, prime ministers came and went, but Bharat remained as one because Sanatana Dharma protected this land and kept this land as one. Which is why when Sri Aurobindo was asked to define nationalism in the Indian context in his very famous Uttarapara speech. Sri Aurobindo defined nationalism as Sanatana Dharma and Sanatana Dharma as nationalism in the Indian context. Because again, we go back to where we started, because India is not a piece of land. India is not a piece of real estate. India is a sacred geography, which our Prime Minister, former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji said, "Kan kan mein Shankar hai." This was how he described this sacred geography. And this sacred geography houses thousands of stories. As the president of the Yuva Morcha from the last 2 years, my party has given me the opportunity of traveling the length and breadth of this country. And I must share before all of you that in the last 2 years, I have completed traveling near about 2 lakh kilometers of travel all across the country, multiple times to different parts of the country, different states, union territories. Wherever I go, our Karyakartas and the people of the state welcome us by narrating and quoting an anecdote or a story or an incident from the Ramayana or the Mahabharata. If I go to Gujarat, the Dwarka, the Karyakartas say, "Adhyaksh ji, we are from Dwarka, the land of Sri Krishna." When I go to Manipur, our Karyakartas say, "This is the land of Rukmini." When I come to Mahabalipuram, our Karyakartas say, "Whatever the DMK may say, but come to Mahabalipuram and see the Pancharathas. It is named after the heroes of the Mahabharata." Never in this country's cultural history have we heard of incidents where a pilgrim or a saint had to approach a government official to obtain a passport to go from Tamil Nadu to Kerala or from here to Kashi. And this extends to thousands of years, which is why Adi Shankara, born in the southernmost part of this country, walks all the way up to Kashi, and there in the hinterland, the heartland of north of India, he composes the Kala Bhairava Ashtakam in respect of a god who primarily is respected and primarily celebrated in the southern part of India. No king ever asked Adi Shankara a passport for entry. It was believed in this nation that whenever, in whichever part of the country, any great scholar produces a work of scholarship, a copy of that work should be preserved and kept for posterity in the Sharada Pitha in Kashmir. So when the Sharada Pitha in Kashmir was ransacked, manuscripts from all over the country in different lipis were found, and they were destroyed by those who wanted the end of the civilization. But it also shows how not just transport, but also the cultural affinity was so one and united throughout the country even before a few centuries, when you could find easily, transport easily, important works of scholarship from the southernmost tips of India to the northernmost part of this country. I was in Gujarat during the elections 15 days ago, my dear friends. I happened to visit in one village called Kankrej. You may have heard of this cow breed called Kankrej. It is a very popular breed. So I happened to visit this district called Kankrej, which is almost on the border of Pakistan. There was a very old temple where Avadhuta was sitting, and the tradition is that from almost 700, 800 years, the Pitha tradition continues. When I went and visited and took the blessings and darshana of the Avadhuta there, he told me how every year from Kankrej and those districts of Gujarat, thousands of pilgrims go to make a Tirtha Yatra to Hingala Mata in Baluchistan of Pakistan and still keep the civilizational memory alive. This is how this country's culture and civilization is kept intact. Friends, whether it was Shankaracharya's establishment of the 4 mutts at the 4 corners of the country, or the temples that our ancestors established in honor of different gods in different parts of the country. I just met our Karyakartas from Tanjavur and I asked him, your city is famous for the Surya Narayana Kovil. There are 4 very important sun temples in India. One sun temple is in Martanda, which is right now in the Pak-occupied Kashmir. The second is in the west, in Modhera in Gujarat. The third you have in Konark, in Odisha, in the east. And then you have in the south, in our Tanjavur, the Surya Narayana Kovil in the south. Whether it was the prayers to the Navagraha deities, whether it was the mutts, whether it was the festivals, all of these kept this country as one throbbing cultural entity. Friends, even the temple architecture is something where you find great commonality between the north, the west, the east and the south of this country. Very recently, I came across this very interesting snippet. In Kashi, one of the most important deities of the town is Annapurna. And here in Kanchi, in the Kanchi Kamakshi temple, just opposite the Garbhagriha, you find a special Sannidhanam that is made for Annapurna. A very interesting fact is that in this special Sannidhanam for Annapurna Devi in Kanchi, you will find that the temple Vimana has 6 peaks, which is very unlike other South Indian Vimana Gopuras. And if you try to find out why this Vimana has 6 peaks, the answer to that is the Annapurna temple in Kashi has 6 peaks, and that is the commonality that you will find. The Narada Sutra, the Narada Samhita, is one of the oldest texts which describes in threadbare detail the architecture, the rules and regulations on construction, as well as the temple sculpture. If you were to ask a DMK fellow, he will tell you this Narada was also North Indian, the Narada Smriti is also North Indian. But you go to any temple in the south of India, 99%, I'm saying 99 because the recent temples I do not know, but all the historical temples, 100% are according to the rules and Shastras and the regulations as laid down in the Narada Smriti and the Agama Shastras. This is how the temples have been governed here. This is how, through festivals, through temples, through art, music and culture, this country was culturally kept as one. I don't know if in Tamil Nadu this practice is there, but in Karnataka, when we were all growing up, when we were in first standard, second standard, just when cursive writing and handwriting were to be taught in school, our grandmother, my grandfather, they would all make us sit and do one exercise. Every day morning, we were supposed to write in the A4 size sheet paper in the notebooks that they would give, that one single line notebook. Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. This was what we were supposed to write 108 times a day to improve handwriting. I don't know if this was a common exercise that we did it here, but this was something. When, growing up from that culture, when I hear somebody say that Rama is a North Indian person, you will be astounded and shocked, and also you will be flabbergasted at the person making that claim and his stupidity. You have one of India's top cricketers. His name is Lakshman Shiva Ramakrishnan. And the people here say Rama and Krishna and Lakshmana are North Indians. For how long have we let this kind of a narrative gain ground here? Friends, if we understand how festivals played a role, I mean, it is common knowledge, it is so obvious, all these things that I am telling all of you, none of this is something that I have cooked up. It's only when you have to lie that you have to cook up something. To establish and propound truth, all you need to put is your own lived experience before people. So I do not want to elaborate how, whether, Pongal in Tamil Nadu, Suggi in Karnataka, Sankranti in Gujarat, Maharashtra, Bihu in Assam, how this has kept the country together. There is also very interesting, while this is an agricultural festival, and because we all come from this agricultural background as a country, even large Hindu festivals like Kumbh Mela finds resonance in different parts of the country. We generally know that there are the four important Kumbh Melas that happen, one in Prayagraj, where it is the Sangama of Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati, in Nasik, in Ujjain, and then in Haridwar. And Kumbh Mela is a very, if you try to understand Kumbh Mela, you will understand how the Sanatana Dharma system functions. No pamphlet is printed, no banner is made out, no announcements are made through loudspeakers. People assemble on the said day from different parts of the country in all religious fervor. They come, they take a dip, they offer prayers to whatever parampara they follow and go back silently. A miracle that you can witness only in this land. The interesting part is, while all of these four primarily happen in the northern and the central part of India, in the south, in our own Kumbha Konam, we have our own version of the Kumbh Mela. And it happens, it's Mahamagam. And Mahamagam and all of. And the beauty is, Rakka, when she was introducing the theme for today, was quoting from Gange Chaimune Chaiva. So the legend says that the Kalyani that is in Kumbhakonam, in front of the Shiva temple, the entrance of the Shiva temple has Shiva with 9 goddesses, and all these goddesses are the 9 rivers in all parts of the country. And when the yatra takes place, and all the devotees and the gods from all across the town come and do the holy dip, it is believed that you get more punya by doing the snanam here than what you get in all the 9 different rivers combined. So this is Gange cha Yamune chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalesmin Sannidhim Kuru in action. You may not know the shloka by heart. You may not have memorized the shloka. But even if you are the quote unquote the unwashed, illiterate, the village pilgrim, you are living this theory, living this sutra, living this mantra in action. This is how our culture designed the oneness of nature, oneness of living. Friends, I'm in Chennai today and the Margari season is going on. It would be unjust if I do not make some reference of how music and dance has also kept us together. If you understand our classical arts, it may be whichever part of the country. When I went to Assam and I was listening to the Sankirtana that was happening in Assam, Shankar Deva and the other folk singers, if you try to understand very keenly the lyrics, you will find surprising similarity to the folk songs, the Sankirtanas that are, say, in the Tamil language, or for in my case, I found great resonance to the Vachana Sahitya that Basavanna and other great thinkers of Karnataka had made. Where is Karnataka? Where is Vachana Sahitya? Where is Shankar Dev and where is Assam? But all of this, the classical music of this country, the devotional music of this country, binds us again together. I was told that Muthuswami Dikshitar, one of the greatest composers in the Carnatic music lineage, lived for a long time in Kashi. And it was in Kashi that he was influenced by the music forms in Kashi, in the northern part of the country. And that is where he was inspired to compose the Gange Mam Pahi Kriti. And it is also believed that it was in the Hanuman Ghat of Varanasi that Devi Saraswati gave him the divine Veena and blessed him wholeheartedly to continue the seva for the music. It again is a matter of shock that fake narratives have always tried to create artificial fault lines and divisions between all of us. It was said that Hindi is North Indian. It was said that Vishnu or Rama is a North Indian god. Yesterday, Sai Deepak and I were on the same flight and I was, discussing this. The Kriti by Swati Tirunal, Vishweshwara Darshana Kar Tanamano Chalo Tum Kashi. I'm sure many of you have heard this. This one Kriti demolishes most of these fake narratives. It is composed by Swati Tirunal, a king in the southernmost part of India in Kerala, composed in Hindi in reverence and honor of a god Vishweshwara residing in Kashi in the northernmost part of the country. And he himself has the pen name Padmanabhadasa. So this fake narrative of Vaishnava versus Shaiva, Hindi versus Tamil, North versus South, all of these are demolished if you are rooted and understand what really is the culture of this soil. So is Bharatanatyam, which is inspired. Bharata Maharshi's treatise And if you read up where Bharata Muni lived, he lived the greatest part of his life in Ayodhya. So I am surprised as to how, for such a long time, we allowed narratives of this kind to run aground. When I travel Maharashtra, especially the youngsters here, I make a very sincere request to you. If you want to really appreciate firsthand the impact of the Tamil Bhakti movement all across the country, make a visit to Maharashtra. There you will realize how the Bhakti movement, which emanated and originated in the southernmost part of this country here in Tamil Nadu, swept the whole of the nation and was also the most potent and resistant force in the north against the Islamic invasions that swept through the country. One of the greatest contribution by the Tamil civilization in recent times is this resistance that the Tamil nation provided, the Tamil civilization gave, inspired the rest of the country through the Bhakti movement. This is the lived reality. This is how all of us have understood Indian culture to mean to live, because this is the only life we have lived. Anything else we do not understand, because this is the reality that we have lived in what in Upanishadic terms can be called as Anubhava Pramana. What is the pramana for testing the truth? Experience. That is the truth. That is the basis of experience. That is the touchstone of verification of truth. Experience. But unfortunately, what we experienced as our lived reality and what we were told in the classrooms in history, or the political narratives that we were forced to buy, was something very different. Friends, I want to just highlight, again, this was something that Sai and I were discussing yesterday, of how the complete U-turn that the British missionaries did with treatment of the Sanskrit language is a great indication of understanding their nefarious design behind this. If you observe, in the early part of the 18th century, the British missionaries, starting from Monier Williams to Max Muller, all of them made very serious and a very sincere attempt to understand, learn, and master the Sanskrit language. And there are multiple evidences that are available as to what was the motivation behind them learning the Sanskrit language. They even established chairs and scholarships to enable people to study Sanskrit language. And all of those scholarships at the time of the endowment, at the time of selecting the candidates, they make it absolutely clear that the motivation again was to learn Sanskrit so that they could use it as a tool to convert the natives. So the motive behind learning the Sanskrit language, even by those people who are today hailed as savants of the Sanskrit language, was also to convert the natives. Then you will see at a later stage, say after a century later, the end of the 18th century, when Sanskrit was dying a natural death thanks to the systematic and deliberate killing of the Gurukula system, and when people started realizing there is not going to be social mobility learning that language, economic mobility learning that language, then came heroes like Robert Cadwell, who again used the Sanskrit language, but there was an absolute U-turn. What was to be a tool to convert the natives, now the same language was called demonized as a tool that a certain sections of the country's upper classes used to subjugate the masses. This was a new narrative that was crafted. If one were to make a very simplistic study of this U-turn in the treatment of the Sanskrit language in just a matter of 150, 200 years, one will understand the nefarious design that was behind the treatment, or rather the study of the language itself. So the racial theory was born, language was used, linguistic divisions, linguistic diversity rather was used to prevent the larger consolidation of the Hindus. And which is why fault lines or divisions or diversity that existed naturally in the Indian culture was used by those who hated this culture to create perpetual divisions. Friends, I just want to highlight 2-3 important issues before we think of some actionables that we all can take. The period between 1915 to 1925, if you look at the country's political history, the period between 1915 to 1925 marks a very important as well as a very interesting period for India's political history. It was in 1917 that the Justice Party was founded. It was in 1920 that the Communist Party of India was founded. And it was in 1925 that the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh was founded. So this period between 1915 and 1925 is a very interesting period. It was only 25-30 years before that, in 1885, that Evo Hume had founded the Congress. So if you broadly look at these 4 organizations, you will realize that with the exception of the RSS, all the other 4 organizations, all the other 3 organizations were either founded by a foreigner, in the case of the Congress, or was inspired by a foreign ideology, in the case of the Justice Party as well as the case of the Communist Party. And you will also realize that in the case of the Communist Party, it was also founded in Tashkent in USSR. It was not even found in India. So the only Vichardhara, the only organization that was founded by Bharatiyas representing the Bharatiya Vichardhara was in 1925, that was the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. So all of these other organizations, they are neither Bharatiya in spirit, nor are they in thought, and never have been in action. Today, we are in 2022, at the threshold of celebrating a century of the existence of these 3 Vichardharas in this nation. A very brief and a very cursory analysis of how these 3 ideologies have worked on this nation will enable us to make very important choices for the coming next 25 years, which is a very crucial period for the country's and the civilization's future. The party that was founded by a foreigner in 1885 and which was also led by a foreigner for more than a decade, the less said the better about its contribution and the havoc that it created in this nation. The decade that it ruled was a decade of decay for this country. Most of the ills that inflict the country's polity today, the country's culture today, the country's administration today. All of these allies, the malices that afflict the country, the Gangotri for all of this is 10 Janpat. The second ideology that was founded in 1920, the Communist Party of India in 1920 in Tashkent, like the Congress Party, even that is on its way to extinction. The only last remnants are today perhaps in two places, in some parts of in Kerala and in some tea stalls in JNU. Other than that, you will not find this ideology relevant or alive anywhere. But if you look at this ideology all throughout the country, all throughout the world, you will find that this ideology, this Vichardhara, has this innate ability to morph itself into new avatars. So it keeps taking new forms. It wears different masks and different colors. So as long as the society is aware and wary of the possibility of this ideology taking multiple forms and this perpetual metamorphosis that goes on with this ideology, we can be rest assured that the country will be safe, the society will be safe from those new forces which are now trying to create havoc in Delhi and tried to enter Gujarat also and failed miserably. I was in Kerala just 3-4 days ago. I had been there to participate in a Shraddhanjali program organized by the Bharatiya Janata Yuva Morcha in honor of our former Vice President of the state, Shri Jayakrishnan Master. Shri Jayakrishnan Master was murdered by the communists in 1999, December 1st. He was 36 years old. He was teaching a class full of students, and in front of his students, the communist terrorists butchered him and killed him in the most horrible, most horrific of manner. His body was cut into 8 pieces. In front of his children, in front of his students. For more than a decade, most of the children who witnessed this murder had to go through therapy. This is broadly the contribution of the communists to India. Violence. Violence in the name of protecting freedom of expression. Violence in the name of protecting diversity. Violence in the name of protecting and championing the cause of the poor. Friends, I also met our Karyakartas who were there in jail on false fabricated charges. A Karyakarta was 27 years old. He's convicted. He's not an under trial. He's convicted on an attempt to murder charge and when I asked him how many years has he completed, he said he's completed 2 years. Asked him how many more, he said 12 more years. The lower judiciary is completely politicized. There is no avenues available to seek justice. This is the kind of ecosystem that the communists have created in their last bastion. This has been the lasting legacy. And we all know that the Justice Party, which was started in 1917, has also metamorphosed today into the DMK, which, to borrow Professor Vaidya's words, is a family-run unlisted business enterprise. Now it's listed. So, if you look at the way these ideologies, these vichardharas have wreaked havoc economically, politically, culturally, socially, you will realize that there is only one ideology, only one worldview, only one vichardhara, which is Bharatiya in spirit, Bharatiya in its thought, and has contributed immensely to the creation of prosperity in this country. And that is our vichardhara, the vichardhara that the Bharatiya Janata Party represents. Nothing can be a better example for this than comparing the 7 terms that the BJP got to serve in Gujarat and the 7 terms the communists got to rule in West Bengal. The 7 terms of the BJP's service in Gujarat has made Gujarat one of the most prosperous states of the country. The per capita income of Gujaratis is one of the highest in the country. Gujarat is the state known for its best kept law and order. There is Shanti, there is Samruddhi, there is Suraksha. Compare the same with the 7-term communist rule in West Bengal, which has impoverished the state, reduced most of the population to penury and poverty, perpetually kept class wars at play, and reduced what was once the civilizational torchbearer of this country, the Bengal land, to one of the most diminished, one of the most deracinated places and population today in the country. This is what the communists did in 7 terms that they were blessed with. The reason why I had to mention all of this, my dear friends, is this: that the political narrative is an all-pervasive narrative. The narrative that we set in politics determines what kind of narrative is set in your music. The political narrative determines the kind of movies that are shown. The political narrative determines the kind of sportsmen that are encouraged. From art to sports to culture to the kind of books that are published, the political narrative is omnipresent, omniscient, and determines everything. Fix the political problem, rest of the problems will all get solved on its own. Friends, looking at the way the country is voting out these ideologies repeatedly and embracing the ideology of inclusivity, of Bharatiyata, which celebrates diversity and never uses diversity as fault lines to peddle political agenda, whether it is in Gujarat, whether it is in Uttar Pradesh, whether it is in the Northeast, we will realize that the time has come and the time is ripe for Tamil Nadu also to be walking on this path. Friends, politics is a very interesting business. The message is important. But in politics, the messenger is also as important as the message. For a very long time, not just people in Tamil Nadu, people even outside of Tamil Nadu who were sympathetic to the interests of this nation, of this culture, of this civilization, of this land, we always felt that we needed a stronger messenger to put our message across in Tamil Nadu. And today, the message that was always strong, the message that inherently has strength, the message that is as old as this nation itself, has found in Annamalai a strong messenger. And And let me tell you with 100% certainty, a very, very silent, but a very, very real revolution is taking place in Tamil Nadu as we speak. This change is being noticed, acknowledged in different parts of the country. When I am in the northeast of India, say in Guwahati, boarding a flight, a very sympathetic to the Bharatiya cause youngster talks to me and asks, भाई तमिलनाडु में इस बार बहुत चेंज होगा ना, ऐसे लग रहा है हमको. This is the overall sentiment throughout the country. It is now our responsibility to translate this intangible sentiment into tangible political dividend. Friends, I want to only say this before I conclude. From the time of the Vishnu Purana, from the time of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, from the time of the Vedas, from the time of the Shiva, Rama and Krishna, this nation has always been one. Whoever may try whatsoever they want to, but it is impossible to break the unity that is integral to this nation so long as the country's people remain true to its dharma. Because that is the secret of this country's soil. Dharma has united this nation. And nothing is more important for Bharat today than unity. Unity at the level of our languages, unity at the language of our states, unity at the language of our myriad different traditions and culture, and unity in every aspect. We must remember that the Bharatiya Janata Party and the RSS combined have done more to lift the people out of poverty than the communists have done ever in the whole world. In the last 8 years, this country under the leadership of our Prime Minister has lifted the largest number of poor people out of poverty than in India's existence as an independent nation. So those people whose career, whose politics has completely been built around poverty, they can take a break now. Those people whose politics have been based on ideas, random ideas like rationality, can be rest assured that the country has made more progress in the last 8 years in science and technology under Modi, under the BJP, than any rational thinking government. More number of SCs, STs have gotten empowered in the truest sense under our government than those people who made political fortunes in the name of those people. If there is one party which has garnered the support of the highest number of MPs from the SC/ST community, it is today the Bharatiya Janata Party, because they today know that it is BJP which delivers real progress and empowerment. In this sense, my dear friends, we are the ones who have brought this country together. We are the ones who have brought this country united. And I feel in the coming 25 years, the south of India is going to contribute immensely for the country's prosperity, the country's unity. And what better an example to draw inspiration from the great emperor Krishna Deva Raya, who came from Kannada lineage, wrote in Telugu in honor of a Tamil poetess devotee Andal and celebrated the unique oneness of this culture. This is what we are, this is what we will be, and it is on this foundation that Bharat will be established as the Jagat Guru of the world. Thank you so much for hearing me out today. Namaste.